Hi, I'm Miss Evans and I'm here to talk to you about GCSE PE. Firstly, I'm going to talk to you about the theory side of the course. So far, all students have completed Component 1, so that's covering topics Anatomy and Physiology, Movement Analysis and Physical Training. We've also covered 2 topics of Component 2, which is Health, Fitness and Wellbeing and Sports Psychology, and we have one more unit to finish, which is Socio-Cultural Influences. In terms of preparing for the PPEs, we're going to use lesson time and also home learning to help prepare the students for the PPEs. We're going to do revision in classes using past exam papers, revision booklets, revision guides and revision workbooks. They'll also have access to knowledge organisers. In terms of the PPEs, the students will sit both papers, so paper 1, which is component 1 content, and paper 2, which is component 2 content, despite not having covered all the content. With regards to this then, the students will get 2 marks. They will get a whole paper mark, and then we'll get a mark based upon the content they've covered so far. In terms of revision for the future and ongoing, we've got our own department revision booklets, which students have been issued with Component 1 already and have started to work through that. They'll also be issued with Component 2 and knowledge organisers. Some students have purchased revision guides and revision workbooks, and they will also be again available on Parent Pay if you haven't had an opportunity to buy those already. We also use Seneca website, past exam papers and also just general revision tasks that we set students. Again, this will be completed in lessons where we have time and also set for home learning. In terms of the practical side of the course, this has changed slightly. So as opposed to being assessed in 3 sports, students will now be assessed in 2 sports. This can either be 2 individual, 2 team or a combination of both. Students are marked 10 out of 10 for their skills and 25 for their performance, so given a total mark of 35 for each sport. All students will be assessed in the 2 sports and will be able to be assessed in the sports they were playing competitively before lockdown. However, they must have sufficient evidence to support the mark for this. In terms of the sports, they must gain video footage because all moderation will be video samples that need to be sent off. So in terms of that, students need to make sure they are vigilant. They isolated skills as well as conditioning practices and competitive games where possible. They should have already finalised their 2 assessed sports with their teachers, so they now can download the specification for their sports if they haven't done so already from the website qualifications.pearson.com. If you do have trouble finding that, please get the students to either speak to their class teacher or obviously contact either myself or Mrs. Maller. In terms of the video guidance, so students will need to download the specification for their 2 sports and then they need to create a video. In that video, they need to make sure they introduce their name, their candidate number, what sport they are doing, what position they're playing, and if they're wearing a bib position or number, they need to stipulate that. In the video, they also need to make sure that the moderator can clearly see what they're doing. So they need to annotate the video by adding some writing, or they can do a verbal overview and telling the moderator what skills they're performing in the video. This can be accessed by using apps such as Splice or the iMovie Maker, and obviously there are lots of others. But again, if you're struggling to find software, please speak to myself or get the students to speak to their class teacher. Students need to select skills that match their ability, and these range from level 1 to 5. So they have a look through the specification and they identify where they feel they are at and what they can do to show their best ability. Again, if they're not sure, get them to speak to their class teacher for guidance. In terms of the videoing, we will try and also offer some intervention to do some videoing for the students. However, we can't do this possibly for all sports. So some students will be required to create videos and get video footage outside of school time. If you are performing in sports that now have new guidelines due to COVID-19, these must be adhered to and must be evident in the video performance for isolated skills as well as conditioned games and competitive practices. In terms of the moderation, all sports will be internally moderated by the PE department, and then a sample will be sent off to the external moderator. On some occasions, we will have to ask students to take part in a sport that they're not necessarily being assessed in due to numbers. With this, we would like to make sure that we ask students to support their peers and they are performing to their best ability to help raise the profile for those students that are being assessed and allow them to achieve the best possible marks. In terms of controlled assessment, most students have nearly finished their controlled assessment, however there are some minor changes that need to be made. Hopefully after Christmas we will have some access to be able to complete those during lesson time, but if that does change we will obviously let you know. So our summary timeline and where we're heading then, so from October to December it will be PP preparation and practical focus, again trying to get video footage in those lessons where possible. December to February half term we will continue with topic 3, so the last topic of component 2, and also controlled assessment. And then February to Easter we will recap work from lockdown and focus on the practical, and then leading us to practical moderation time, and then finally after Easter revision and preparation for the final summer exam. If there are any further questions, please get in contact with myself, Miss Evans or Mrs Mallow, who oversees GCSE. Thank you.